How's everybody doing? I want to welcome you into the Opinionated 7-Footers podcast. I'm Ryan Hollins, former 10-year NBA pro. That's my dog over there, all standing 7'1", 295 pounds.
Stop! Why do you keep increasing my weight every week, man? I done went vegan out of shape, man. I'm not 295.
Hey, man, I feel like getting my comedy act on a little bit, man. I had to bring one of my dogs, man. He's a 11-year pro, man. 6-time All-Star. Honestly, one of the really, really good guys in the league right now. One of my favorite teammates, BG. BG is Blake Griffin. BG, what's going on, baby?
What's up, guys? What's up? Over here trying to survive every day the same day, but it's all good. Appreciate you having me on.
Where you at right now, man?
I'm in LA right now. I've been here since the season ended. I came back here. I moved into a new house. I've been working out, waiting, trying to see what's going to happen, like everybody else kind of.
Hey, well, BG, man, when we do this pod, we always like to, give a timeline of your career and your successes. Mm-hmm. I know for myself, how close I was with my dad. My dad was, 6'4". I was a little guy. We'd be playing basketball in the backyard, and y'all used to laugh about my hacking and my intensity, man. But it might have started with my dad, man. If there was a foul or an elbow, he was throwing me in the bushes, knocking me on the floor, get up and keep playing.
Here we go with this Bushes story. He tell this story every week.
Hey, man. Hey, it made a man out of me, baby. It made a man out of me. But BG, in all seriousness, who taught Blake Griffin to be Blake Griffin? Was there a moment in your career? I know your pops coached you, if I'm not mistaken, when you were young. You and your older brother, Taylor, used to go at it. But who really put that imprint on you in a young stages of your athletic career?
It was definitely my dad and my brother. My dad's been a basketball coach for 40-something years now. Has I think the record in Oklahoma for state championships for a high school coach. So from as long as I can remember, he's a hard-nosed, fundamental first basketball coach. So I played for him in high school. So our practices were all, the first 30 minutes was all fundamentals. We go through five different stations of all fundamentals. So that was sort of like the foundation of my basketball knowledge. And then, from there, my brother, when he started taking basketball a little bit more seriously and really started putting the work in, I saw his work ethic. And I saw what he did to get to get the college offers and to get to where I wanted to get to. And that's just I just sort of followed in line. I had two great examples of people that are very hardworking individuals in front of me. And that's just sort of the approach I took, because I wasn't, in high school, I wasn't the biggest. I wasn't the strong. I was close to the strongest, but I never had the strongest. I never had the whole, I felt like I was always working to keep up. There's some guys that were unbelievable, D Rose, Michael Beasley, those guys. So I felt like I had to really work as hard as I could on and off the court to keep up.
Hey, hold on, man. Who used to get the better when you and Taylor were going at it, man? Because for a moment, he had to be big brother now. How did that go?
We used to fight every single day when we were kids. Every day, my mom would have to come out, separate us. Oh yeah. Because what happened? He would beat me in one-on-one, or he'd beat me in whatever we were doing, and then I would just start fighting. You know what I mean? Just
if you don't win the game, make sure you win the fight.
Exactly.
Rules to live by.
Exactly. So that's sort of where that competitiveness came from for me. That just fueled me. Always playing a brother who was 3 years older, who was big, strong. And, I was trying to keep up. So that's where that came from.
Obviously, you go to Oklahoma. And I like the fact that you talk about you felt like you always had to work on your game and you always had to get better. Your freshman year at Oklahoma, very good year. Your Big 12 Rookie of the Year, impressive. I look at the numbers. The jump you made from your freshman year to sophomore year, the rebounds went from 6 to 14. The points went from 14 to 23. What in the hell happened that summer, Blake? You had to have one of the best summers ever, because you went from, this guy's good to, man, he's the best player out.
So I, at the end of my freshman year, I sort of was thinking about coming out, but I wasn't one of those. I was maybe a lottery pick, but not really solid enough to really feel good about it. And I made a decision. I found this trainer in San Francisco. So my brother and I took our finals early, paid to go out to San Francisco, paid for an apartment. And we worked out with this guy. We work out 6 days a week. We do basketball in the mornings. We do strength and conditioning in the afternoon. And we go back and do basketball at night. I did that for 2.5 months straight. And I like dropped some of that like baby fat. That's where I really like changed my body around. And then just the dedication of like, I know I'm going to do this for 2.5 months. I'm not seeing my friends. I'm not seeing my family except for my brother who's on the same schedule. That sort of put me on the path, I would say, to really lock in for that next year. I worked as hard as I possibly could, and I came back, rejoined the team, finished workouts, and sort of the season began. I felt like I put in the time, I put in the work, and that confidence was sort of already there.
Real quick, was there a moment or like a game or like a talk that you had with your pops or your brother, or somebody was like, nah, like I need to turn up, like, because I know from playing with you, BG, like, one thing that always stuck out, I would see your demeanor change. You've always had a different level of expectations for yourself. Yeah. Was that from high school and college? Was there a talk? Was it like, nah, like I see myself different? Like BG, you had 20 points and be pissed off, like, dang, I missed 2 free throws. Like, I've been working on free throws. Like, you've always been a goal-oriented guy.
Yeah, I just sort of have always been like, for lack of a better word, sort of a perfectionist. Like I early on, I didn't necessarily have the skill set that maybe I have now. And it wasn't for lack of trying. I would be in the gym working on so many different things. And it just, as a rookie, as a young guy, you want everything to happen right away. You know what I mean? And for me, it was just about I put in so much time. I care about the game of basketball. I always have cared about the game of basketball. And I think like those things just sort of ate at me a little bit. And now, it's easier to have that patience as a guy that's 10, 11 years in. You know how it is, year 2 to year 8. You feel it's a completely different game, first of all, but then you see things from a different perspective. So for me, man, it was just that hunger to like keep going and to be better. And I, on the court, I definitely, rubbed people the wrong way, but like I had to make up for a lack of what I saw was like skill and finesse with just playing hard. And that's sort of like the way I knew that's what got me to that point. So I wasn't going to abandon it.
And we're talking about getting you to that point. You did great to get to that point because you became the number 1 pick. You get drafted by the Clippers. Then all of a sudden you have the knee injury. There's this setback. What was your original rookie year like?
Yeah, the first rookie year.
You don't get a chance you're not getting a chance to play. You're going through the learning process, rehab. What was that like?
It was tough, man. The very last preseason game we were playing the Hornets, and I went up for a dunk, and I just felt something in my knee and came down. Next day, I get an MRI, stress fracture. So the plan was 2.5 months. I rehab, I do a bone stimulator, I do all this stuff, and hopefully I'll be able to play. And it never really healed like the way it was. So it was kind of weird because I had this expectation. I was like, okay, 2.5 months, I'll finally get to start playing. And then when I got to that point, I still didn't realize I had to have surgery. So when I had to have surgery, that's sort of when I realized like, hey, I got to like take this time, really put everything into rehab. I had to get donuts at the time on game days for Marcus Camby. So on game days, I was waking up at 6 a.m., driving 45 minutes in traffic. You know how traffic is out here. 45 minutes back, drop off the donuts, go to rehab for 2 hours, go to shoot around. So that was sort of my routine. But the good thing is I was always around the guys. I was always around the game. And I got to learn. I got to watch. I had to work on my body. I was working with our coaches. So that for me was sort of a blessing in disguise because I really got to like dive in. I got to do another like firsthand look at how the NBA operates. And it definitely, helped me for that second rookie year.
Hey, dog, I got to dive into that. I don't know if you remember this. You were in practice one day and you were doing like this 2-ball dribbling routine. And it's like, it's one of the fastest it's one of the most amazing ball handling displays I had ever seen. And I walked over and I was like, dog, but what are you doing? And how did you learn to do that? And you kind of take me into that story a little bit where you were like, yo, like when I got hurt, instead of complaining, like I committed myself to learning how to handle the basketball, learning how to do stuff. And I'm watching it. Like when I tell people, I'm like, you don't understand, this guy's a different type of sponge. Like, what was that process like? Or just take me through like, hey, like you leveled up having a whole year off.
Yeah, I mean, I had made a conscious decision. Like, as corny as it sounds, like I've tried to turn every setback or injuries for us, into like a positive. Like you come away with something new, and so for me, it was like, okay, I'm gonna do as much ball handling. As soon as they let me do ball handling, I'm gonna do ball handling. So I was doing like these tennis ball drills. I was doing 2-ball drills sitting in a chair, and then I got to stand up. So, and then I was doing form shooting in a chair, then a stool. So I pushed and pushed and pushed our training staff, Jason Powell, and our strength coach Rich, and everybody really to like give me as much stuff as possible, because I don't want to waste this time. You know what I mean? I don't want to just go in and do the lift that I'm supposed to do, go do the rehab that I'm supposed to do, and then call it quits. Like I'm trying to like keep going. You know what I mean? Because that's sort of like I said, from my freshman to sophomore year, the reason I made that jump was hard work. So I didn't want to abandon that.
B, hold on. Let me follow up with something, because I don't want to skip this part.
Mm-hmm.
There's another guy whose story is so darn similar to yours, bro. Zion Williamson. Yeah. And to me, you guys are different players, but the explosion, the injury, sitting out when it started, obviously he's back playing. Has he reached out to you? Do you see parts of your game in his? Because it's like the same, like one of the most exciting players to reach the league. Like, what do you see? Talk to me about Zion real quick.
The thing that surprised me the most, I feel like we all started watching him maybe his junior year in high school because his highlights were everywhere. So my thing was always like, I just want to see him play basketball. And I was so surprised, or I was happy to see how well-rounded of a player he is. You know what I mean? Because that was one thing that I just immediately got tagged with. That I could only do one thing. You know what I mean? And so I sort of feel for guys like that. You know what I mean? You want them to you want people to appreciate, yes, their athleticism and his dunks, explosiveness is off the charts, but he's a solid player. You know what I mean? And he does a really good job of not fitting into one thing, but he's done a great job so far. I'm excited to see him take that next level. I'm excited to see him play in the bubble, and then his progression over the years is going to be fun to watch.
We're going back to your rookie year, your second rookie year, where you came in and you just dominated. It seemed like the game was really easy for you, though. Was it that easy? Did it shock you that you were able to come in and do what you were able to do? Like, you just came in like a freight train. Hey, I had to guard you sometime. I'm like, listen, man, y'all got to get – because the thing, you ran the lane so fast. And so I was like, listen, y'all got to give me some help to get back on this guy, because if he gets behind me, I can't do nothing with him at the rim.
And did BG bang on you, Brendan?
What?
Did BG bang on you? Heard me?
No, he never banged on me. He'll tell you I always fouled him hard. Like, not like malicious, but it was always like, hey, I'm not going to be Mozgov or Kendrick Perkins. Not on my watch. Hell no. Kevin Durant caught me and that was good enough. But getting back to your rookie year, were you surprised at how easy the transition was? Because you come off that major injury, you put in the work, and then, pow, you caught fire.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about it as easy at the time. I knew that, I knew my strengths, right? So, you talk about running the floor. I knew I could probably outrun most bigs. So that's what I was trying to. I would try to put myself in positions where it made it easier on myself. But the grind of the league in and out, it's not easy. And I hit that wall, sometime after All-Star. But I just, another thing too. I had Baron Davis, man. That guy gave me 6 to 8 points a game where all I had to do was catch and lay the ball up. You know what I mean? So no, the game, it didn't seem easy to me. I was a little bit surprised at the spacing and it's a little bit easier to score, because you come from college and the paint is so
everybody's packed in.
It's so much different. So I was a little bit surprised by that, but just the grind of playing 82 games, the level of competition. Every night you're facing somebody who's was the best player on their college team, is one of the best players in the world, and I was just trying to keep up. So I was just going to my strengths. I was trying to bully people who I could, outrun people who I couldn't bully, and sort of be somewhat strategic about it.
Hey, B, talk to me about Baron, because I got a chance to play with Baron before I played with you. He was traded over to Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And people have no idea. I think Baron is because obviously the injuries, the weight, the up and down, never got the chance. Talk to me about the type of player that Barron was behind the scenes and a guy like you, because I know he put a battery in my back. You know what I'm saying? A couple of games.
He, like I said, man, there was his like ability to get somebody on his hip. And like when I was playing with him, he wasn't like the fastest guard. You know what I mean? When he first came in, super athletic, super quick. But his ability to get people on his hip, hang up in the air, get my man to jump like he's going to go, and he would just drop it off to me. And I would just catch and lay in, catch and dunk, whatever it was. I was really, really shocked at his ability to like control the game, see passes, and also his patience. I think that's one of the things I learned from Barron's is like he was so patient with that ball and like really like forced people to do what he wanted to do to then drop it off. And I learned a lot from him. He's one of the most talented point guards I've played with for sure.
Now, one special moment between you and Barron, we got to take it back to the dunk contest, man. Whose idea was it to do the car with him popping out the sunroof? Was that your idea? Was that Barron's? How'd that all come together?
Yeah, so originally I wanted to have an old school like convertible come out, with like 4 teammates in the car and have one of them toss it up, and I was going to jump over the whole thing. But the NBA, being a Kia, Kia was a sponsor of the NBA. They were like, you can't have any other car besides Kia. So I was like, man, all right. So they're like, the only car you can do it with is the Kia. It was like a sedan. Like, I'm talking like, I'm like, okay, all right, I can't jump over the whole thing, but I still think it's a cool idea. It's still an obstacle jumper. Guys are bringing out the basketball racks. They're jumping over people, whatever. So I was like, all right, I'll still do it. And BD said he'd do it. So they made me practice it Thursday night of All-Star. So they wheeled the car in, they got it all positioned. It went a little bit better in the practice because they positioned a little bit wrong, but I don't know. It was an idea I had, and it sort of transformed, but we made the most out of it, I guess.
Hey, dog, talk to me about that Kia brand. Like, was that where it kind of popped off? Because you were the face of Kia for a while, and BG, you still owe me like a little small Kia. We jump out and practice. Hey, dog, give me,
what are you going to do with a Kia at 7 feet tall, man? Except for
a podcast, and you want a mid-size sedan.
Hey, man, the little hoopty, man. Sometimes you got to just get in and get out. But for real, after the dunk contest blew up, I felt, what's crazy? Like, in our culture, the hoop culture, the dunk contest takes you to another level, especially, playing at the Clippers at that time. How did things just take off after that dunk contest?
Well, so for the Kia part, we had no plan to have a deal with Kia, after that. They were going to do a thing around the dunk contest, but that was it. And then it was funny. I think the sales of the particular car that I jumped over, just happened to go up around that time. It probably had nothing to do with that. But they did, and so I think maybe they felt like that was part of it. So then that's how I got that deal from that. But really, everybody was like, man, this contest was rigged. It was this and that. They wanted to have this deal. They had this deal in place. We never did. Really never did. It was just an idea that I had. We had to use a Kia, so I was like, all right, let me just still do it. But yeah, it was like that. My rookie year, we played the Knicks earlier in the season. That game was a little bit crazy, and there were some other games. And then after All-Star, I just felt like my life just has never slowed down. You know what I mean? Because I had that whole year where I was hurt, and it was real quiet. I was in the facility every day. My life was very, very simple, and that was great because I got to work on my game. But since that All-Star experience, I don't think it slowed down really.
And we talked about the dunk contest. We hinted at this a little bit earlier in the show. We're talking about you dunking on Mozgov and Kendrick Perkins. Those were some amazing plays. Which dunk do you think was your best dunk of all time? And walk me through how it came to play. Because sometimes you can just see it unfold perfectly. You just catch them real smooth.
I think my favorite one, you always like to dunk on the guy, the meanest, the best defenders. Kendrick Perk at the time, man, because that was his thing, man. He was a tough defender. He would foul you. He wasn't going to let you get to the spots you wanted to, and he just had that mentality when you played against him. He had no friends on the court. You know what I mean? And you always respect that as a player. But, I think that dunk was like probably the most like the kind of the craziest one to me, because like the Mozgov one, I felt like I was going to get there, and he kind of boosted me up a little bit. But the Kendrick Perkins one happened so fast. I remember seeing CP on the side, like running into a side pick and roll, like kind of getting out of it, and then CP did his thing, and then it just happened, and then DJ's reaction was always for some reason he was always the first person there. He was just always right there to hype me up, and those are like some moments I'll never forget.
Hey, B, well, let's get to it then. Let's talk about the Lob City Clippers, man. And I want to say this, you don't have to chime in. The Clippers have to have an opportunity to win a title right now.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting back outside the game, it's only because of Blake Griffin. Organization, they could care less about it. You get drafted, a buzz starts, Chris Paul becomes interested, Chris comes, load up with veterans, and there's an actual run for the championship. Fast forward. They sign you in free agency. It is what it is. Your deal ends up turning it into a cap space, whatever it was. They became a spot where Kawhi, Paul George, and all them can come. To me, that none of that happens without Blake Griffin. I don't even want you to comment on that. But let's go back to that Lob City team, B. What was that like? Because we had goals and aspirations of a championship. And to me, like when the Clippers hit me in free agency, it was like, dang, like I want to play with Blake Griffin. Like it was surrounded around you. Like talk about those years and like you're just watching the team, the organization, the city build around. And you're humble, man. You're not going to take that credit. So that's why I'm like, I'm going to give you your roses, okay? I'm going to give them to you. You're not going to take that credit. Talk to me about the Lob City years, man.
It was crazy, man, because, my rookie year, we were such we started Eric Bledsoe, myself, Al Farouk, Deandre, and Eric Gordon. Chris came in sometimes, but for the most part, very, very young players, and won like 32 games that year. And then boom, you get Chris Paul, and now you're just like you're a team that's respected. So the Lob City years, like we obviously didn't accomplish what we wanted to, but I like to think that I didn't take that team for granted. You know what I mean? Because that flip from like after my rookie year to that second year when we got CP, and then Chauncey comes, and then eventually like Grant Hill, yourself, Lamar Odom, like we got all these guys, Matt Barnes, Jamal, all these guys, JJ later on. It just kept going up. You know what I mean? And I learned so much in those, especially in those like first 4 years or so, just going from being a rookie to now being surrounded by, one of the best point guards to ever play the game. Chauncey Billups, a Hall of Famer.
Man.
Lamar Odom, who's got rings. All these guys who have all this experience. It was a lot of fun. Like we had a lot of fun. Ultimately, we didn't get to where we wanted to, but we had a lot of fun.
Hey, B, honestly, that's the most fun I've ever had in my life doing anything. Like it wasn't real. Like we went to kids parties. We went to like to hang out, to eat, like, and then we're blasting teams by 20, 30 points. Like you would get a bang out, DJ get a bang out. I get like, it wasn't even like, it was like, yo, like, is this professional sports, right? Like it was crazy, bro.
Yeah. No, I remember Lob City took over the NBA. I think it was like the best show in the league. Like the team was incredible, but like as far as like entertainment value, there wasn't too many teams entertaining because, like you said, whether it was Ryan or Blake or DJ, somebody was going to put somebody on a poster every night. And then you had Chris Paul doing this thing. Then y'all had Jamal Crawford one year coming off the bench, a couple years, like doing what his thing. Like you never knew what was going to happen. So the team was incredible. But I want to know, what was it like for you, though? Because early on, you were used to having the ball in your hands. And your game, like you were still effective, but your game had to change a little bit with Chris because Chris needs the ball in his hands. Like, what was the process like of saying, okay, I got to give up a little bit, but I know it's going to help the team win?
Yeah, for me, it was like I didn't want to be like that piece that like let the team down. I am comfortable, and I was comfortable with the ball in my hands, but I'm not going to take the ball out of Chris Paul's hands. That, you know what I mean? That's what he does best. So for me, it was like, okay, that was when I hired a shooting coach. that was when I really started studying like pick and pop mid-range, because back then, it sounds crazy saying back then, but back then, like fours weren't really shooting threes like they are now. You know what I mean? Dirk was, there's certain guys were.
All mid-range. Everybody was popping to that Carlos Boozer area.
Exactly. That Udonis Haslem baseline jumper. Yep. You know, so that's what I started working on, because like I knew that had to, you know, that's what I had to work on to help this team and to sort of fit in. So for me, and you know, I always got blasted for not being able to shoot. So for me, it was tough, because I was like in that position where you don't want to let this team down. You don't want to let your teammates down, but at the same time, I got to work on my game. I got to work on my stuff. And then you still got to go to the stuff that you're effective at. You know what I mean? So finding that like balance was a little bit difficult for me, but I feel like I got to like a very comfortable place, you know, especially the teams where we had JJ and Jamal and Matt Barnes. You know, we'd run a pick and roll with me and CP. If he had to get off of it, I was right there at the short roll. And I had DeAndre Jordan at the rim. I had JJ Redick in this corner. I had Jamal Crawford in this corner. So it was really, for me, it was like pick your poison. Right. You know what I mean? And that's why I spent so much time sort of retooling my shot, because I can make those passes. I mean, all you got to do is throw it 5 feet within the rim, and DeAndre's dunking it. You just got to get it to JJ. He'll make it. Same thing with Jamal. So that step for me was like, you know, really being able to hit that shot, make quick decisions, and all that. But it was a slow progression, but I think I slowly got there.
Hey man, I want to chime in on that too, B. It was absolutely a struggle, man. And for those who don't know, me and you, we would have talks on a plane or on a bus, and like I believe in you to another level. I'm like, dude, you literally have the talent to be the best player in the league, but you always had a vision towards, like you mentioned, working towards shooting threes, which is something you always worked on. Your skill set. But you knew I can kind of dunk at will. I can get to the rim at any time, but this isn't the longevity. And I remember we had a talk where you kind of struggled one game or had frustrations. And I was like, B, like, you're trying to be somebody that you're not. And I'm saying not to not shoot the ball or dribble or handle, but I said, like, you're an aggressive player. You get to the rim, you get dirty. Like I think you're underappreciated, because you made so many little plays, or like someone wouldn't watch you run the floor 30 straight times to catch one lob and then you catch it. Or you make some of the most, like, you know, it's funny, like I talk to athletes about how athletic they are. They're like, how athletic you are. Because I said, if I watch Blake Griffin's falling out of bounds on one leg and grabs a rebound and saves it back to his team. Like, how is that? So talk to me a little bit about that struggle. And like, now you're closer to that veteran now who shoots threes, brings the ball up floor, and more of I don't want to say more skilled, but you're able to show your skill set now.
Yeah, that balance was like hard. It was hard to find, because, you know, your coaches are, you know, they don't want you to settle. You know what I mean? I'm in here working on this, and I don't want to settle either. But like, there's times where I feel like, all right, if you're playing off way too much, like I gotta see how I feel tonight. You know what I mean? And that balance was tough, because I always felt like I was guessing. And now I feel like I know, you know, depending on where somebody is, like it's just a read and you react. And I feel like early on, I really had to I was guessing way too much. And that's conversations we had. You know what I mean? There was times where I should have definitely been more aggressive. But for me, that was part of the process of figuring that out. And, you know, I look back now wishing I had this mindset, and that now that's just not how it is. That's not how it is.
All.
Yeah, exactly.
They say youth is wasted on the young.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I look back on those years, and I'm proud of, like, I guess the foundation we laid and the things we did. Obviously, we didn't get to where we wanted to, but it wasn't for lack of effort, and it wasn't for lack of hard work, and it wasn't for lack of trying. You know, we just didn't.
Hey, Blake, there's one story that I heard different versions of, but I never got to hear your version of it. I want to hear your version of the DeAndre Jordan free agency story? Like, did you guys really like not let him leave the house when he decided to come to Dallas? What was that? Because I heard a lot of different things. Like y'all had the furniture in front of the door and you wouldn't let the man leave. Like, what happened though, man?
Hey man, when I went to Sacramento, where was my break-in, man? I played for the Kings, man.
Well, they was hoping you packed to get out. You know what I'm saying? It's a different free agency story.
You know, we couldn't find your address.
They needed the cap space.
Yeah, that story was. It obviously got blown way out of proportion, but so the whole thing was, you know, the Dallas thing was pretty much done before free agency started. He left, and then I was texting with him, you know, the day he decided. I was like, you know, I'm happy for you because, you know, we were friends first and foremost. So, you know, I was just trying to be supportive as a friend, like, I'm happy for you, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember that was like Friday he made that decision. I remember Sunday maybe was the first time he texted me. He was like, yo, B, like, I don't, you know, I'm having second thoughts. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know, man. And I'm like, well, like, let's talk about it. And he's just like, I just don't know if, like, you know, I made the right decision, blah, blah, blah. So one night goes by, and then I think it was Monday. The next day, I get I'm talking to DJ, and then I also get a call from Doc, and he's like, hey, DeAndre's not, I don't think he wants to go to Dallas. I've been talking. You know, I think we should go out there. I hang up the phone. I get a call from Doc's assistant. Hey, can you be on a 1:00 flight? I look at my phone. It's like 11:45. I'm like, sure.
What?
So I like throw some stuff in a bag. I speed to the airport. They got somebody waiting to like get me on the plane. They held up the plane for. This is a commercial flight, by the way.
Oh, you got to a commercial flight in like an hour and 15 minutes?
That's the reach right there. So we fly to Houston, and it's just like, you know, we go to Dre's house and we just hang out. You know, we go to dinner that night, and apparently while we were at dinner, Mark Cuban has landed and he's trying to get a hold of DeAndre. He's trying to get to his house. I don't know if he went to his house or not. We weren't there. So then we go back. I stay at DeAndre's house, and the next morning, Doc and CP, who else was there? Paul Pierce, JJ, all fly in. So we go meet at the hotel. We leave DeAndre's. He's still back at his place. So we meet at the hotel. Hey, you know, this is what we're going to talk about. So we go back, have the meeting. His parents are there. His mom's there. Have the meeting, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm in. I want to sign." And so Doc kind of half jokingly, half seriously goes, "All right, well, we're not leaving until you can sign." And that was like, I don't know, midnight or 9 p.m., whatever it was. So then we're just in his house. We order food. We're just playing cards, whatever. And so that's when Twitter was going crazy. So then I went to the front door. I didn't even tell anybody. I went to the front door and I put that chair right there. I took a picture of it and tweeted it out because that was the whole, remember the whole emoji thing,
Yeah.
all that. And so, you know, everything we did was just boom. It just kept blowing up and we just kept adding fuel to the fire. So now we didn't really lock him in his house, but you know, we definitely played up the whole thing that was going on Twitter. So yeah.
Hey, B, talk a little bit about DJ, man. Like I like to call him Highland. You know, he hates that I yell out Highland. That's his real name in the middle of it. He'd be on the free throw line, like, "Come on, Highland, good job, boy."
Oh, his name is what?
Highland.
Highland?
Yeah, Highland Jordan.
His name is Highland Jordan?
Yeah, Highland Jordan. True story.
On this.
Every day.
Hey, no, for real. Talk to me about DJ behind the scenes. And it was weird. You guys, I'm off the charts athletic. Mm-hmm. And you guys, I'm looking at y'all like, okay, that's different. Like DJ went through the legs 360 backwards as a big man. You threw it off the glass. Like, it was like, talk to people about DeAndre Jordan, the player, the person in the locker room like that people don't know. Because I feel like he was another guy that was always just highly scrutinized because they saw the talent level, but they didn't see how hard he worked or just like every day in the listen, I don't know if I want to go down the prank route with you guys, but listen, we got a little too much fun sometimes.
Hold on now. If that locker room was that good, what was the best prank that was played? We talked about my DC locker room, our prank, and we had some bad ones. So what was y'all best prank played?
I mean, I know if it was common, like people would see, like if we fell asleep, you wake up with like, you know, the edited version, there'd be candy and stuff on your face, you know, like.
Y'all had nice PG pranks.
Yeah. That's crazy. But DeAndre, man, he was definitely like the leader of all that. He was like the guy who kept everybody loose in the locker room. You know what I mean? He's a type of dude. He's just friends with everybody, can talk to anybody. You know, always wants to make people laugh, and you know, he kept things light for sure. But yeah, I mean, athletically playing with, I've been spoiled, man. I for so many years, like throwing lobs to him was just, you know, you could just kind of close your eyes and know that you're throwing in the vicinity of the rim, and he was going to catch it. But he was really a big piece for us, especially when Doc came. He sort of gave DJ the reins to the defense, and he said, "Oh, this is your thing." You know what I mean? I think that really gave him like not purpose, but it gave him like something to really hold on to, and he took it very, very seriously. I mean, to this day, he's one of those guys that, you know, as soon as you hear a call, like a coach calls a play, he's telling everybody what's happening, you know, what's going on, what action they're about to run, what we're going to do. So his growth as a player was tremendous. Not only just, you know, catching lobs and being able to finish around the rim, but defensively he took it to another level.
Yeah, and like just DJ was so tough to box out, man, just because he was so long and bouncy. He was all over the place. And you guys literally had LA rocking. Y'all made it a Clipper town. I know it's still a Laker town, but the Lob City is what people were really talking about. And you were definitely a big part of that. You were a leader on that team. But talk to me, what was it like going through being a leader on the team, being a leader on that Lob City squad when the Donald Sterling controversy hit? Because now people are going to be looking for you for like, hey, what are we going to do? Like, are we not playing? Are we playing? Or do we have a symbol? Are we going to say something symbolic? What are we going to do? What was it like being a leader in that time of turmoil?
Yeah, I think, you know, that whole thing was crazy, especially in the, you know, first round of the playoffs. This had to happen right now. You know, it couldn't happen in the off season. But for me especially, the way I always felt was like, we weren't playing for him. We were playing for each other. Like we're the ones who went to training camp. We're the ones who worked out all summer, went to training camp, went through a whole 82 game season just to get to this point. So for me, like boycotting wasn't necessarily like a thing that I really thought about, because we have been given this platform, and the best thing to do, like a powerful thing that we did when we went to center court and we took off our warm-ups and our stuff was turned inside out, because it was like a statement, and we had a platform for that. And I don't think it would have been fair to us to say like, okay, we're not going to play. It wouldn't have been fair to the other team, to the fans, because, you know, we are nothing without these fans that come and watch us on TV. So for us, I thought, you know, as a group, and CP and Matt Barnes and you know, the older guys on that team, you know, sort of took the charge on that. But I thought we made the right decision. You know what I mean? By saying like, hey, we're going to play basketball, but we're not standing for this. Like this is too much. And I also think the NBA took a swift stance, and I think they made the right decision. And you know, after that, we kind of never looked back. But that was it was a crazy time, because that was like to me that was sort of like the first like pillar of people to fall, and for people to stand up and be like, all right, this is enough. Because Donald Sterling, he's been racist. He had multiple lawsuits.
Very racist.
Yeah, for racial discrimination. And that was like a thing where it was like, no, this isn't going to get brushed under the rug. We're just not going to like look past it because he owns a team. He's got a lot of money. It was a swift and quick justice. And in a way, I think that was like one of the first times that we really, you know, made that stand.
Let me ask this, B, man. We're living in 2020, and it seems like everything's coming around full circle. And I agree with everything you said, man. I remember sitting in the locker room with Doc, in the hotel room with Doc, and he's like, well, first he told us it was coming out, and then before we were in the locker room or a shoot around, I almost want to say, and he was like, well, what do you guys want to do? Yeah. And we're like, we're going to play, like, you know, and I don't even think we knew the magnitude of what it was going to be. Like, just real talk. It was like, you know, the sun coming out, he made some comments. But in 2020, I'm not sure if, you know, the rest of the season will be played out for the rest of the league. But are you among the guys that, if you had a chance, obviously posed to you, and I'm sure you maybe already thought about it, Would you change the name on the back of your jersey for justice? Would you put something? If so, would you stay with Griffin? I think it's fine either way. Either way, what would you change, if at all?
Yeah, I think I would change. I think I would pick something. Being out of the playoffs, out of the bubble. I didn't even look at the list. But I always thought I would change it to something. I'm not sure exactly what's on the list. I think it's 27 names. But yeah, I mean, I get it either way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Guys, people use their platform and people do advocate for things in different ways. You know what I mean? Some guys donate. Some guys support people behind the scenes who are actively making changes. Some guys go protest. Some guys post. Some guys try to make other people aware of what's going on around. And we as people should not be sitting here pointing the finger and saying, oh, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, because you don't know what people are doing. So for me, like, it's all about making effective changes and having a positive impact, man. If you're posting and your people are seeing that and people are seeing what you stand for, that's a positive impact. If you're donating, if you're marching, if you're doing whatever, that's a positive impact. So yeah, I think I would have picked one, but you come from a culturally, like, your dad is black, your mom is white. Like you're like, I love everybody. Like you move in every single crowd. Like, so it's like, dude, like, I don't understand, like, how you looking at somebody different? Like, that's the crazy thing. Yeah. I mean, this whole thing, man, it opens your eyes a little bit even more. I mean, you see it, I saw it from a young age, seeing, if I'm in the car with my dad and he gets pulled over, I see people treating him differently than when I'm in the car with my mom. You know what I mean? So you see those things, and as a kid, I hate to say this, but you sort of just think that's life. You know what I mean? Because you don't have real true perspective, and you don't really understand the situations that are going on. And as you get older and older, you realize that you've seen these situations over and over. And unfortunately, people have had to lose their lives for us to even begin to speak about these things. But at least we're speaking about it. Right. You know what I mean? And that's a powerful thing. And, I get what some people are saying, like, hey, we shouldn't play. We should take a stand. And some guys are like, hey, no, let's use this platform. My only hope is that when things start to become more normal, when there's basketball, there's baseball, there's football on TV, the real conversation and the real topics that need to be discussed and need to be changed don't fall to the back. Because basketball and all this is entertainment, but there's issues at hand, and those things need to be addressed.
Definitely, very well said. We're going to transition back to the basketball side of things. You had the Lob City era. You move on to Detroit. Mm-hmm. What were your feelings when you were leaving the Clippers? Because they put on a big presentation. You barely make it through a year of that deal, and then you're shipped to Detroit. Did you feel like they kind of pulled the rug out from underneath you, or what did you feel in that moment?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I've talked about this, but my only thing was, like, I preferred to have sort of known, or at least been in the the conversation, because if you come to me and you say, hey, this isn't working out, we want to go in a different direction, I understand that. I understand. I've been in the league long enough. I know how basketball works. I understand that. It was just sort of the way that it happened. But, it happened, and it was sort of a shock. And also for me, I had never been traded before. So it was just a complete shift. You know what I mean? Obviously west to east, but, like, I just was so out of my element. But the Pistons organization has been unbelievable, from top to bottom. They make the right moves. They, not to say the Clippers don't, but they made that transition really, really easy for me, and it's been really great being with that organization. We obviously haven't, not this season, but last season made the playoffs, didn't get to where we wanted to get to, but it's cool. It's sort of cool being that vet on the team now, and sort of like taking guys under your wing and sort of putting your stamp on a team. And I've been thankful for these years, because I've learned from a completely different perspective.
And you talked about, hold on a second. You talked about making the playoffs your first year with Detroit. And you were kind of banged up, and you came back, and you're in the playoff series. You got the big, bulky knee brace on, and you're kind of limping. I'm like, hey, that ain't the Blake Griffin I used to play against right there, man. That guy, hey, I would have had some success against that guy. That guy's barely moving out there. We talked with Grant Hill, and he talked about playing through injury and the impact that it had on him in the following seasons, and how he would have done it differently if he was in that situation. Would you have played? Because it seemed like that playoff series kind of took something out of you this year as well, because it seemed like your knee wasn't quite right. Would you have played in that series if you had to do it all over again?
I'm sorry.
You okay over there, man?
I choked up.
Man, quarantine, dog.
I know, man.
We got to put a mask on.
I hit you in your soul with that question, man. Hit you in your soul.
Yeah, man. You know what? I think I would have. I definitely, you know, after the season I got taken care of, I wasn't right, and you know that's why I had another scope in January, and now I feel completely different. You know, I've been on the court and it feels so much better. So that sort of puts my mind at ease. Like if I was still in that same boat now, yeah, I probably would have, you know, said, you know, maybe I should have set out that playoff series. But I feel great now, and feel, you know, I feel like I'm jumping, you know, better, moving better than I have in 3-4 years. So that's sort of why I say like I still would have played in that series, because I don't think the effect was long term. You know what I mean? I think when we went in had the scope, I just don't think we got everything we should have, you know, tried to salvage something, but ended up cleaning it up and feel so much better now. So that's a tough thing though for guys, because like, you know, like I said, you worked your whole year to play in the playoffs, and you get to this point and it's like you don't want to let your teammates down, you want to let the fans down, and you want to play in the playoffs. That's why we play. So I know that's tough for guys, but yeah, I think I still would have played.
Hey, B, talk to me about Derrick Rose, man. When I sit back and look at you two, I see similar stories, you know, maybe the injury, people doubted you guys, the comeback. Like, talk to me about the type of person D Rose is, what he's like in the locker room. And even if you can, you know, give us some go. Walk us through, was there a moment in practice or in the game where you like, hey, bro, like he's still D Rose. Like, y'all better stop sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as a person, I've known D Rose since high school, same high school class, been playing against him forever. As a person, great person. You know, he's quiet. He's pretty reserved, but I mean, you still can have those conversations with him, and he's you can tell when you have conversations with him now. He's just been through so much, and he's absorbed all of this, and I think he's also eager to like learn. And I think that's a quality about him that is what makes him so special. But seeing him this year, like up close, like there's times in practice where he's like whipping passes to me, and I'm like, you know, like barely catching it, like, you know, stuff I'm not used to, and you're like, oh, he's still D Rose, like he's still got that in him. His shiftiness, his left to right, his ability to take contact and still finish is unbelievable. So I was really happy to see him play as well as he did this year, and I'm excited to see how we are going in the next year.
We're talking about Detroit now, but I should have asked you this when we were talking about LA. I mean, my main man, Jess, I know he's going to edit this right for me. But when you were in LA, something off the court that really caught my eye was you started doing stand-up comedy. And surprise, my boy's like, yo, have you seen Blake doing stand-up comedy? I'm like, all right, send it to me. I love to joke around. I think it's going to be terrible. I'm ready to roast you. I watch it. It's really good. I'm like, yo, like, he's really good at this. Like, is that something that's always been a passion, or did you just get
went in the Clippers locker room, apparently, dog? He had a Ryan Hollins set every day, just about, man. I'm like, all right, come on. I'm like, yo, chill, man.
That probably would have stunted his growth, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, did you just run into Will Ferrell or he just made you fun? Like, well, how did this get to the point where you felt confident to go on stage and have a really good set on multiple occasions?
I've always loved stand-up comedy. I grew up watching comedy. That's always been my favorite, you know, TV shows, movies, stand-up, all that. So grew up watching like the Richard Pryors and the Eddie Murphys, and then, you know, Dave Chappelle. And I feel like when I would always watch, I would always picture myself trying to do that. And early on when I got to LA, I became friends with a couple guys who were stand-up comedians. And So I would just kind of go around with them and watch them, do different sets in the night, pick their brain, ask them questions, because it was always really, it's like a mental exercise for me. It's like you think it's something funny, and it's not really a joke. Like we all have friends that are really funny in our friends group, but they're not stand-up comedians.
Right.
It's a skill. It's not just being funny. You have to hone it. And I'm sort of hesitant to ever say like, I do stand up. I've done stand up. I'm not a comedian, because those guys are grinding it out. They started in open mics, rooms of 5 people working on these jokes, and they hone their craft. And for me, it's about like doing something that's outside of your comfort zone, because it's scary, man. Like public speaking is the number one fear. And then you got to make people laugh on top of that. So it made me learn something about myself, and I got the chance to do it, and I did it, and it scared me, and I walked away from it being like, that was fun. And now, I do a charity event every year, which is a stand-up comedy event. So that's mostly what I work on. I work on that type of stuff. So it's one of those things I do, but I don't consider, I will never go to like the Comedy Store and try to take a comedian's time. Right. I always want to do it on the platform where I'm giving comedians an opportunity to be showcased. And then, I'll do my thing at the beginning just as like a host or something. So that's sort of where I'm at with stand-up.
Hey, dog, can we throw you on the spot a little bit? Can we get your minute? What is it? Your minute long set? Your 30-second set? No Ryan Hollins humor involved. Okay.
No, I can't. If there's no Ryan Hollins humor involved, I can't do it.
All right. We'll switch gears back to the league, dog. Look. I'm gonna ask for your set though, dog. I'm gonna show up to one of your comedy nights, bro. I'm there for sure. Let's rewind back to LA because Brendan got a little happy. He skipped ahead. But we used to put them hands on the Lakers. We used to put them hands on Kobe's Lakers, okay? And bless the Bryant family, Kobe and everything. My heart hurts from that. But man, take me behind the scenes, because you and Chris being the big dogs in LA, it was a thing with Kobe there. He don't back down too easily. Was there some personal or a cool Mamba moment or story where we saw the lighter side of Kobe or competitive side? Or obviously in the game he's different, man. Kobe's different, man. And it was always I believe like we went so hard against the Lakers because it was an honor that he was there. Yeah. It didn't matter how good their record was. It was a privilege.
Yeah, I think anytime you went up against him, you sort of felt that. I don't even know what word you felt his presence on the court. You know what I mean? It was different. And I think something that I sort of like learned from him is even like when they had sort of those down years, his level of effort and intensity never dropped off. You know what I mean? He was just as intense when they were contending for championships as he was when, they kind of had the weird teams and, guys were in and out and they were trying to figure it out. And that's just one of those guys, like he's one of those players like who you always want to impress. You know what I mean? Like you always like are working, you're always like sort of hoping that he is like, that's a good player. You know what I mean? Like that's how much his opinion and how much of an impact on the game of basketball he has. And I remember like one year in the playoffs getting a text from him. He tweeted something and I got a text from him, talking about just like the growth. And that I had that tweet saved. I'll never lose that tweet because that meant so much to me. Just
can you share it with us or no?
Kind of approval. Yeah, he said, man, the game of Blake Griffin is improved by leaps and bounds. Like I'll never forget that. I'll never forget seeing those words written by Kobe Bryant because it's special. You know what I mean? He's that type of player. He's that type of person.
Did you have his number before, or was this like a random area code coming in?
Yeah, I had his number before. So like when I was injured that first year, I was going to this rehab clinic right by the Clippers practice facility at Curlin Job, and his Judy Sato, who's with the Lakers now, and she was with the Lakers at the time when like his last few years. She was at that clinic. That's who I was working with. So one day I'm sitting on the table. And when he walks into a room, people know, you know what I mean? Things change. And I remember sitting there on the table, just, I'm like doing my warm-up exercise or whatever. And he comes in like hood on, Mamba tracksuit and sits down. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, it's my first time really like being in that setting with him. And we would just sit there. He would be in there, 2-3 days a week, depending on their schedule. We just sit there and talk. And that was sort of like my first introduction to him. And that was sort of what made me realize, like, oh, this guy is like, he's human. He just has a different mindset. You know what I mean? Because you look at guys like that as a kid and you're like, man, he's just not like, that's just crazy. He's just, you saw how he was wired just in conversation with him. And I think that was huge for me. That was just another lesson that I learned while I was rehabbing.
Man. Like, you've been in the league 11 years. The league has changed tremendously since from when you first came in till now. And to me, it's interesting to see the evolution. Like Mamba talked about, he saw your game evolve. I saw it evolve as well. And now you got to the point where you're a stretch four. Like, stretch fours didn't even exist when you first came into the league. Talk about how your position has changed so much. The power forward position is nothing like it was when Blake Griffin was first drafted.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Because like I like look back at like pictures like from like my rookie year. Like I saw a clip of when we were playing, like I think it was Washington, and like JaVale McGee, his arms are like huge. Like, and now JaVale's like skinny. He's long. He's always been long, but he's like and I was just sort of thinking back, like, guys' bodies have completely changed too. Like, the big man doesn't necessarily have to be like strong, like, wrestle every single play. It's a completely different game, man. And when, my rookie year, I averaged like 12 rebounds a game, I think, because I was just in the paint all the time. And now I feel like I'm on the perimeter just as got to be more than I am in the paint.
Right.
So the game has sped up. The game has changed, and I think it's probably more exciting for the fans. But it was like it was a process to get used to, and I sort of like grew into that a little bit, just because, like I said, I hired a shooting coach, and not knowing that this was going to happen at the time. But I'm so glad I did and put the time in then, because the four-man now is just sort of like a utility guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? You do have like the Anthony Davises and those guys that are just all around dominant, but like the four-man sort of is like playing that where he's, he can be a big, he can guard some bigs, but he also has to have some guard skill. And it's fun to watch, like, guys sort of take that progression. Guys who, like myself, like when I first came in, I was just around the rim. Now you see guys step back three off the dribble, handling and pick and roll.
Crazy.
The game is completely different.
Hey, BG, man, we want to end with this, man. We always like to have some fun with our guests, and I know you got a million things going on, brother, the comedy, the NBA, the business life. We can keep you here for hours, but we always want to get your all moment, your all celebrity, we like to say club, lounge, or event moment. That one celebrity you met, because you're a country boy, BG. You're a country boy now, where you walked in the club and you're like, yo, like I was in Minnesota, I saw Prince walk by. Sean Marion talked about, he asked Janet Jackson for a dance. Yeah. And Janet was like, I'll do it. And then he gets so drunk he couldn't do it. Like, was there like a celebrity, like you tapping somebody? Because, bro, our Lob City Clippers have seen some things now.
Being in LA, I know you got a good story now.
So this is the best, one of the best ones. My rookie year, I get drafted, and I go to this event, and I see Mike Tyson, and I love Mike Tyson. I've read books, I've watched all his stuff, and I see Mike Tyson, and I'm like, that's the champ. I think I was with my brother. And so somebody's like, yo, you want to meet him? I was like, yeah, of course. I walk up, and he's like, yo, what's up, big fella? Stands up, dabs me up, tells me to sit down, and we chop it up for like 5-10 minutes. He's telling me this and that and that, and I'm like, is Mike Tyson about to be my mentor? Like, Iron Mike is about to be like my guy. Like, I'm almost like, hey, let me get your number, yo. I'll text you, like, whatever. And then so fast forward like 2 weeks later, I see him again, run into him again. And I'm like, oh, that's my guy. So I go walk up and I'm like, yo, what up, man? He turns around. He acts like he has never seen me before in his life. I was with my boys. I was like, yeah. Of course, I told him the story about how I met him and we were cool. And like, blah, blah, blah. And so I walk up and he just looks at me. He's like, shakes my hand and turns back around. I walked away like, damn.
Come on, Mike played you, man.
Heartbreaking. I don't know, like what happened. You know, I don't know, but that was
Mike got a lot on his mind. He's a complicated man.
Yeah, that was like I was on top of the world, and then I was just like, woof, just all went away. But yeah, I've met some cool people. That one always sticks out to me.
Hey, B, well, we appreciate your time, brother. Amazing having you. Before you get out of here, also, is there anywhere, any foundations you're supporting or something we can, raise awareness to? And we definitely need you to shout out the 7-footers, opinionated 7-footers, baby. But more importantly, what are you supporting? What can we get behind to help you?
Yeah, my brother and I started our Griffin Family Foundation like 5 years ago now, and all our work is for inner city at-risk youth in Oklahoma, where we're from, in LA, and also in Detroit. So. That's, we do everything through that. So, if you see me on Twitter or Instagram, from time to time, I'll be posting stuff for that. But that's really it, man. Trying to help and trying to give back to kids, like we were, everybody helped us at one point to help us get to where we are today. So that's sort of our vehicle, but that's it, man.
Dope stuff. Appreciate having you, brother. We'll let you get out of here, man. But
thank you.
What's up, y'all? It's Blake Griffin. I'm here with the Opinionated 7-footers. Or 6 and 11ers if you're Ryan Hollins. I don't know if he actually got that 7-foot ranking in my book. B got it, but I don't know about Ryan. Little ticket.
We so opinionated, 7-footers who made it, block shots, dunked on some of the greatest. P-Town and Carolina in touch with the latest. Posting up on the topics, ain't no way you can stop this. Hollins and Haywood, post off the pivot, living life to live it. Tire suits are fitted, cash up, mash up, now we hook skidding. Stadium to the set, we the littest. And the biggest.